Jesus presents the question, to what shall we compare the kingdom of God? What parable can we use for it? Today we have two images presented. In the first reading, this first image, a majestic cedar, which puts forth branches and bears much fruit. Birds of every kind dwell beneath it. And of course, in our gospel, such a famous image, I think, resonates so much. The mustard seed, which the smallest of seeds that becomes the largest of plants, and again puts forth large branches. I'll say, since being a child, I've enjoyed climbing trees. Must be in my blood. And to this day, I climb trees, and of many kinds. One note, if I'm ever on a retreat, there's trees, I'll find one to climb. I've become very fond of different, types of trees. One getting up really high in old, massive oak trees, mostly central Minnesota. I've also climbed cedar trees. Up here, it's mostly poplars and pines. But for me, one of the greatest gifts is to come close to wildlife, to be in each other's company. White-tailed deer walking right below the tree, squirrels climbing above, birds perching on branches all around me. Trees are able to draw in and hold life like a multitude of creatures. It's woodpeckers, owls, songbirds, ducks, insects, squirrels, caterpillars, butterflies, salamanders, black bear, bats, raccoons. Like a single oak tree that can host 532 species of just caterpillars alone. One oak tree. 150 species of birds, 120 species of mammals, 60 species of reptiles and amphibians, not to mention 280 species of insects. It's like a single tree. And that is a lot of life, a lot of diversity, all together in one place. All sheltered, supported, and living together. Say, under one roof. The majestic cedar, this mustard plant, these trees which put forth these large branches, I would say is one of my favorite images for the kingdom of God, for Christ's holy church. And say what you will about the Catholic Church, and many people have many things and opinions about the Catholic Church, or experiences and commentary. But made for us by God, how might we describe the church? It's a shelter. It's a refuge. It's a supporter of life. It's the one thing on earth that extends to heaven, that is large enough to provide room for every single human being who has ever lived, is living now, and will ever live. We all know the word Catholic means just that, universal. No human being is excluded from having a place to live in this majestic tree, our church. What about grievous sinners? The tree, our church, exists for grievous sinners. And its branches reach far enough to provide room for every type of sinner. A couple challenging things for us to ponder, about the kingdom of God, Christ Church, this tree, and our community here on Buell, Kinney. This morning, we are the birds, we're the birds who have found our home here. We find reason and confidence to come into the tree, right into the heart, coming to church. And we each have a branch, maybe pew. We found our place, and in a sense, we're like insiders, But there's so many who are some distance from the tree. And for whatever reason, could call them the birds who have fallen away. And with that, there can be such guilt, there can be shame, tremendous fear. But every so often, they'll drop in, they'll visit, they'll come by. Whether that be Christmas or Easter, Ash Wednesday, funeral, baptism, wedding. And the question is, how are they received? How do they perceive us, the insiders, the resident birds? I've heard people say, and this is actually rather regular, I'm afraid if I come inside the church, lightning will strike, or it will burst into flames. And I always thought this meant they were afraid of God and his judgment. We did hear about that in the second reading. Each of us must appear before the judgment seat of Christ. But I think often it's a different kind of fear they're facing. It's a fear of us. It's a fear of you and me, the people on the inside, being judgmental. And there's often a strong fear, feeling, and perhaps, sadly, a degree of truth that us on the inside do have a tendency or a temptation, if somebody new comes by, to judge. But the Catholic Church, we are not the ones to place the judgment. That's Christ's job. We're made to be a welcome refuge for all who are in need of grace, mercy, love, patience. And so for us to ask, what is our atmosphere, culture as a church? How lovingly, readily do we welcome in guests and visitors, strangers, outsiders, and sinners? The majestic cedar, the mustard seed, which becomes the largest of all plants. We strive by love to have that be our story here in this church. As our Holy Father had said, the thing the church needs most today is the ability to heal wounds, to warm the hearts of the faithful. It needs nearness, proximity. I see the church as a field hospital after battle.